And they post. Okay, so you are the host. You have all the hosting rights now, so you can mute, unmute, share your screen, whatever you need to do. So you should be all set.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of course, have a good meeting.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, David. How you doing?
Pretty good. And you?
Not too bad.
Surprise, I'm here on time.
Yeah, it's great.
And I'm the host.
Everything's
Miracles never cease.
good.
Katie set me up.
Excellent.
So I'm glad today will be over Zoom. This is my second Zoom meeting today, and of course, we get the library trustees at 7.
Yeah.
I took a class through the Duxbury Senior Center in memoir writing. So I've been doing that every Tuesday, and today was the last one. So had started at 4, and hopefully I'll be free by 8.
Yeah.
But
We'll try to make
a lot of fun.
We'll make
Really
this as
enjoyed
quick
it.
as possible.
Yeah.
My daughter is she's waiting for me to be off of meetings and work and everything. She's like, I want to go fishing. I want to do. We've been doing magnet fishing recently, which is the magnet on a big string, cast it
yeah.
into rivers or ponds. And last night we picked up a scooter out of the town river over by
Scooter.
McDonald's. Yeah.
Wow.
And then we caught a over in West Bridgewater. Over at War Memorial Park. I pulled out a signpost. I pulled out what could have been a weapon, like it was like a metal stick that had like tape for a handle.
Oh.
And a cigarette box where like We cast it. We threw out the magnet one time, caught the top of the box, threw it out again, caught the bottom of the box.
It must be a pretty big line you use on that magnet.
Yeah, no, it's a. I think the magnet has like 500-pound pull strength on it.
Wow.
So that's one of the smaller ones. So
Yeah.
good
So
pastime.
you say a scooter, just a two-wheeled, hand-powered
Yeah,
scooter?
Yeah, one of those like foldable razor scooters. Like it's just
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of.
Geez, I didn't know there was any steel in them. I thought they were all aluminum.
Yeah, this one. Actually, when we caught this one, I hooked the magnet in between it. So
Yep.
like I more or less like snagged it rather than magnetized it.
I have a couple of electric scooters at home, Razor electric scooters, that I picked up at the dump, and I thought my grandchildren were going to be interested in them, but no interest.
Huh.
I was amazed, and I also picked up a Razor Go-Kart.
Really?
It'll move 150 pounds. So
Wow.
I've had my wife on it, and but again, I would have been tickled pink as a
Yeah.
kid to have one of these, and none of my grandchildren are interested in it. Yeah, they get in and they drove around in circles in the driveway a couple times, but no,
Yeah,
unless I pull it out and say, here it is, they don't ask for it again. Different generation.
I know.
So if you know anybody who wants an electric Razor scooter, they need the batteries in them. Batteries are about $60 or $70 for a pair of batteries. But other than that, they'll run for you get about 10, 12 miles out of them
Yeah.
if you want to use them. So, but I might just bring them back down to dump and let somebody else play with them.
Yeah. I bet if you put it onto like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, it'd go pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, I was. My daughter recently bought a house on Vernon Street, and I'm looking for some cabinets. So I got to get on Facebook Marketplace. Just
yeah.
looking for a couple oak cabinets. So something that somebody's updating their kitchen and they don't
Yeah.
like the old style.
How you doing, Carlton?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
I sent you an email a couple of days ago. You had put something on one of the pages in town about the historic pieces out by the NIP. You know, the cave or the.
Oh, yes.
Could you? I don't know if you got my email, but I'd like to get that link. I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I can get that to you right now.
Yeah, somebody asked me about it, and I said, well, it's historically, and it's in the Macris, so that person wanted to know because he has to look at some things.
Yeah, that meeting, that was it. Is it the that meeting's tomorrow? It's the,
Yeah, it's a planning board meeting. Yes,
yeah. They're looking to get a variance.
right, and it's some kind of big building. So my thinking is what they're going to be. The way that lot is laid out, it's got a dog leg that's fairly narrow, and that's where that what do you call it? Chamber is located, and maybe one other. And so I think that they probably won't go into that because there's no access there. They don't want to come onto Short Street. So.
Right.
Is Silver Engineering doing the plans for that?
I don't know. I make an assumption, yes.
Yeah. So I've talked to Larry about it many times, and in other preliminary plans, he's managed to avoid touching it, the immediate area of the stone chamber.
What I'd like them to do is if they're going to put that in is somehow condition it so that, it'd be potentially visible as a go-to place in the town. But David, do you remember if there's more than one out there? I've heard there were 3 and one was removed when 24 was put in.
No, there's on the Mass Historical Commission book of historic places, there is a listing of a site that's way down the end of that road real close to the
Highway?
ramp. But it's just a site and there's nothing there.
Uh,
I don't know exactly how they identify it, but there's nothing there.
but it would it be Carrie's land or is it state land?
It's Carey's land.
Okay.
And I believe it's protected by Mass Historical, but I went to a workshop that was done by, oh no, it was, you might have been there. Oh, who's the professor at the college that's, he's retired now? The real big with the Indian lore. He did
He has the book, right? This,
Dr.
I know who you mean. He just gave a talk at OBHS.
Yeah, about 6
and-
months ago.
Yeah, and I asked him a question about that, and I said I thought there were three, and he said he thought there were one or two, but he hadn't heard of the third. I just remember when they constructed the access to 24, they may have that street may have been damaged, or that historic
Yeah.
feature.
I was really disappointed when he made the statement that Mass Historical really isn't interested in Native American artifacts
I don't know that.
as they should be. So
Well,
that's probably why
didn't they-
nothing's ever been done there as far as research.
weren't they heavily involved with the Titicut area when that was all archaeologically studied?
It's possible. I don't know who the parties were up there.
I think it was BU or Boston College that did most of the work. I can't remember the reports, but I don't know what your computer screens are looking like, but mine keeps flashing all sorts of crazy. So
Mine's doing fine so far.
yeah.
yeah, I'm afraid my computer's got a little hiccup in it somewhere that I can't find. Steve, you're
Yeah.
studying.
Dr. Curtis Hoffman is who we're talking
Yeah,
about.
that's him. Thank you. Yeah, it was an interesting presentation he did that day.
It was.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yep.
And I didn't know about the stuff that, the stone structures that point to the equinox and that kind of thing are on BSU's campus. And I just think there's all sorts of really marvelous stuff around here that in likelihood we've destroyed most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, things that like you wouldn't even realize if you didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I know, I think I don't know if you saw my post on, on the summer solstice?
Yes.
I ended up going to the stone chamber just to see if it did align with the sunrise, and it does.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, like the opening was, and like I use the compass on my phone, and say like the sunrise was at like 56 degrees, it was at like 54.5 or something like that, and that was just me kind of like trying to line up with the door. So the entrance does line up with the solstice.
That's fascinating. Why they did that way back. I mean, it's all through history, archaeological history. It's fascinating how the sun drove so many things.
Yeah.
So
Well-
just a quick question. Are you guys co-joining with the library trustees tonight?
Yes.
Okay. I may jump off and depending on where you're at. I have nothing really to report from the stuff I've kind of been following.
I
don't
put an
know.
email into Kim asking her for an update on the memorial building committee or the alternative bathroom plans, and I haven't heard back from her, so I guess I got to keep bugging her.
Yeah, you mean that stuff that was promised to you within a week? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I applaud you. I think you have to follow up in writing almost every time.
yeah.
And under
Yeah.
and under the meeting laws and that kind of thing, actually they're obligated to respond to you within 10 days.
Yep.
And I have actually activated that in one circumstance several years ago because I could not get a response from the town. So I just went to the state and they checked up on it, and things happened.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that road too much, but it really gets pathetic that we can't get a response from anybody.
Right.
Enough said.
I know that the town hall study, like a few weeks ago, there was talk about having like a follow-up meeting, but that's been quiet recently. I need to see what's up with that, because I know that we've had a draft study that they've created a draft review of the feasibility study, but it just had we haven't had our follow-up meeting, so I'm hoping that happens soon.
And make it so.
Yeah.
I read it. I thought it was not a lot different than she'd had in that one meeting I attended that you guys had, but I think it's good to put it in, have it in writing.
Right.
And there were some things, I think, they did include those 3 possibilities and making more of a venue area in the back and that kind of thing. And I think that's good, but way back when, before you were engaged with the town, I think Greg Gamont had said that let's look at that, but let's move the hunt house, have it actually physically move to the back so that you can open up more property on the other side of the hunt house. But I think that's probably an expense that the town can't afford.
Right.
But there's lots of ideas on how to make that venue work.
Yeah, no, it would be nice to have something.
I can see them stalling until till something happens with the fire station.
Well, the fire station plays into that report very heavily in terms of what you can and can't do with it. And they had 3 diagrams of slightly different layouts of the site, and including the fire station. The one thing I would love to see them do is keep the old fire station intact and use that for storage of audio equipment and all that kind of stuff. You could preserve that element of the that structure set and make something really good out of it. I think in terms and incorporate it into that design. But again, I'm waiting for the next meeting that Steve has.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Michael, see what's going on with that.
Good idea.
Calvin, before you take off, I just want to let you know that I did hear back from Matt Zahler. He's the proponent for the McElwain School project, or he's a spokesman.
Mhm.
And the state has approved all of the funding that they had requested.
Excellent.
So they have informed Dutton that they're going to be moving forward with the project, taking ownership of it after the first of the year and breaking ground in the spring.
Well, that's good to know.
Great.
Yeah.
'Cause I have a Steve and I have a CPC meeting next week, and we can certainly, through your comments, we can update the committee on that piece that's going on. 'Cause I doubt that we'll get it from anybody else.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, true.
I know this is being recorded, but I apologize for it. But it's really frustrating that we don't get downflow to the committees.
Right. Yeah, and the only way I found out about it, he needed one last letter to Mass Historical. So I called him up. I did the letter for him and called him up to make sure he got it. And he said he was going to call me and let me know. But he said Dutton has been informed. So I let Frank know to see when, because it's in his district, to see how long it takes for Dutton to tell him. So.
He may be holding off announcing it till the next town council meeting, which is September 8th.
Yeah.
And that is well and good, but they're now on schedule because I think they had been saying breaking ground in the spring of 21, but I did see some large vehicles there today when I went by it, but I couldn't tell if it was the town doing some cleanup or they'd hired a company to, groom the land. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's good news. That's good news.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had talked to him at one time about funding, since the all the virus hit and everything just economically collapsed. And he wasn't concerned about that at all because he said the funding and everything is all in place. So this project will go forward.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing because I think we're going to see everything else coming to a slow halt.
You mean a
Very
slow
soon.
boil?
Yeah.
The Broad Street stuff, I don't know where it's going. It's so egregious that how they've laid it out, and the town attorney's already sent a letter, opinion that they can't combine all of those lots to calculate the density, which is what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was frustrating. That was a
Well,
frustrating
and-
non-meeting, but it had to be a non-meeting.
and yeah, it was, well, they put stuff before the town. I don't know who's at fault here, but I don't think it's the planning board's fault. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Stuff was put before them that should never have been put before them because it was incomplete application. I don't know about architectural drawings versus site plans, but all those buildings were architectural drawings, and I suspect, I have no evidence for it, but I suspect that they just buildings that they dropped in place from other projects.
Yeah, they had like 4 different architectural styles, and
Oh,
it was like I was trying to read out like even just where like the ramping to get into some of these. I think the ones higher up, like close to Cumberland Farms,
yeah.
some of them, for I think someone in a wheelchair to get in, you had to go like around the building.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but
Well, again, I think those are all conceptual drawings. They were nothing about a real site plan. We had asked them to combine entrances in some way so that they were across from that street, and they put 4 different entrances in there. It just,
yeah,
I've actually done a significant review of the development agreement and have a lot of comments about where it really doesn't fit with our zoning. So,
right.
but again, they said in that, I'll sue this to the record, that they did include in that the planning board has any final say for site plans.
Yeah.
So
Has
Troy
there ever
could-
been any mention of the of working this together with all of the parking areas behind all of the businesses from Broad Street to Pearl Street?
It's confusing in the application. What they planned was to have all the apartments and commercial property as you go north, it would be on the left side or the west side. And on the right side or the east side, they had proposed a major parking lot in a couple of phases.
Yeah.
And that would be for the apartment dwellers. And I think I could see on one diagram that they may be thinking about putting an underpass underneath Broad Street to get, it just was terribly confusing as to what they were thinking.
Mm.
And so that's where the parking piece went. But I think the contiguousness of properties restricts that significantly.
Well, how many parcels has he acquired on the
9.
across Broad Street? Where was it? Bruno's Pizzeria?
Yeah, he's got 4 lots over there and 4 straight across the street. And then in the plan, they included one down on what's that street?
Hale and Stetson.
Stetson, and that's not even contiguous. It's like two parcels away from the 2 contiguous sets of property.
Jeez.
It's just butchered. It's just butchered, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I hear they're discussing some more stuff, but who knows? History says the developer pulls back if he doesn't get his way. So who knows what's going to happen there? It's a shame.
It is.
And the parcel behind the Academy building is attached to that also.
There is something in there that I don't know that I could try to understand it, but it's something about, I think they're trying to do a TDR, but you don't have any zoning for a TDR, so they can't do it. So there's an agreement that if he can't buy that land and then give it to the town would do a taking and the money would change hands somehow. It's pretty complex. It's really complex. And again, and the other piece is there's an agreement to pay up to $350,000 for the upgrade or turning or whatever it is with the World War I Veterans Memorial at the head of the common or the foot of the common. Because Dennis Gallagher wants that turned around so it phases in. And there was a study that started, and there were all sorts of design. And it actually says, according to one of the design done by some university, and I've seen those designs, and I didn't think any one of them really worked, but that's me.
Well, the committee met and they agreed on, there was a consensus on one of the particular designs. There were some really bizarre ones there, very modernistic, that just didn't fit on the common.
Yeah.
But the low profile one, I think, was the one that was agreed on. And it's been a year now.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really
So-
nothing.
Yeah, I don't know where that's going, but that's included in this development agreement. That there would be funding for that. It just seems like a grab bag to me. But I guess you guys aren't going to get quorum, huh?
I guess not.
Well, we can have an informal discussion,
Yeah.
which we have been having.
I know one of the things I'm having tomorrow is I'm meeting with Anna Callahan and Jen Goldston and James Walsh about the Barstow House.
Okay.
Because we met last week and we're going to try to, or we met 2 weeks ago, and we're like looking at like the history and if it would be of any value to the town or to the university, to like for an additional use if we were to like take it. They were.
You said the Marshall House?
Barstow.
Oh, Barstow, yes.
Because I guess the owners were trying to initially wanted to put like assisted living, but that doesn't meet zoning or something. So like that, if there was a solution that if the town had, like what we were discussing was if there's a solution where the town might have a use for it or if the university has a use for it, seeing if that interest is there. So I'm going to reach out to Sue McComb just to see if get it on her radar.
Good idea.
And oh yeah, we're gonna meet up around like 11 o'clock tomorrow just to kind of like we've been trying to, instead of taking long breaks for like every 2 weeks, we're just having a check-in to see if there's anything that we want to do with the building.
I haven't talked to the owners at all about that, and I'll leave it with you because I'm too close to them. But I think we need to explore stuff. But I think the university's pulled back a lot on development. I know they had a property on Grove Street that was going to become Sue's office, and I think that's all gone away.
Yeah.
So I think they're in pretty tight straits right now.
Right.
Well, that met a lot of neighborhood opposition. And then the Hale Street property with the nail factory where they were going to put up a building, that's turned out to be one expensive parking lot that they bought.
Yep.
Well, at least they did a little bit of landscaping on it, but I have no clue what's going to happen after those buildings came down.
There's
Yeah.
there's cattails growing on the side of Hale Street right now. Like, I walked
Is
down
that
there.
a wetland? Isn't that a wetland, that plant?
They're literally coming out of the side of Hale Street. I have to walk around them when I'm walking home from the train.
Oh, my goodness.
Well,
Well, that's a place that, you know, and you know they're constructing that apartment complex across the road and east of the railroad track.
Yep.
That they've already put the elevator shaft in.
right.
It just amazes me that somebody would embark on such a huge private project like that with the state of the university and housing and everything. I know so many people have sold apartments because they just couldn't fill them with kids. The market just has died, and they're going forward with this thing.
I think that's true. And I just am reviewing the housing piece for the updated master plan. And I find I'm finding a lot of places I have questions, let's put it that way. It's the draft, and then we'll have comments, and they'll finalize it, and then that goes into the plan, which is not my way of doing documents, but that's their way. But they're talking about rental properties, and they've laid out in the town where the major areas of rental is, and single household owners and all of that kind of stuff. It's very interesting, but you know, if the market's gone, but is the market gone because of COVID, or is the market gone because of other reasons?
The market had been dying with the student housing for the last 4 or 5 years. The college has been struggling to maintain enrollment.
Yep.
And the kids just aren't coming
Yep.
like they used to.
It was like the Vietnam era. All of us that, well, I was in college, but a lot of people came to my college, now university, with because they were avoiding the draft, and that worked. And our college, I was a class of 300 plus, and that doubled the size of the school. And they were all East Coast kids. And then in my high school, they had to build the high school building for my class of 360 in the following class. But once that cutting edge of the baby boomers went by, it went back to 250 kids or something. It was just, they had to build out then, and then everything kind of slowed down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh, I was. I know Carlton. Recently they were on our CPC meetings. We just voted on the congregational church.
right.
And I know, I don't know if you know the history of it. I found this a while ago, but I showed it to my wife again today. One of the pastors of the Central Square Congregational Church was Charles Edward Stowe.
Mhm.
It was Harriet Beecher Stowe's son.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was the pastor from 1902 to 1908 or something like that.
that's great.
Yeah, and so it's just something that, with all the tie-ins to the abolition and social justice and everything. That's one of the things where it's like Harriet Beecher Stowe's son was a pastor in Bridgewater for.
I think that story needs to be told. So David knows we have voted to recommend that the CPA money, $200,000 for specifically the restoration of the steeple, because it's got some structural issues, quite a bit of outside, like the weather vane up on top, the ring below it is pretty much gone. So a good hard wind's going to knock it over. But we did vote 200,000. And Steve, I just sent a thing to Anna that I went in and looked at my eligible and likely eligible list, and I actually put it together, and it came out to be about 198,000. So it was a good guess.
Yeah.
And Anna's working on that. I have a meeting tomorrow. We'll work on the agenda, the agenda for next week, and we'll bring that forward for vote. I'm also going to bring. I had a conversation today because Gina and I are trying to work and develop. I think we've mentioned it. This internal policy document that's how things flow in and out of and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And the financial part where I read the Mass General Law and the guidance from DOR, it's a little dicey as to what the role is, but we're a ministerial committee. Mm-hmm. And that, because we have administrative duties and we have to keep certain records and that kind of stuff. So the town's going to try to work out that. They weren't particularly happy that we would review invoices, particularly those that come in from non-town entities. But they understood what we're trying to do, so hopefully we'll get some movement there and we can vote on it. We're actually going to give you guys a document to review.
Okay.
On this next meeting. Jennifer just sent it out. So we'll be giving you more food for thought. So what are you going to talk to the library about?
What we were talking about was I think it might be talking about display space.
Right, what Michael mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, because I think at our last meeting about the memorial building, where we questioned and said, "Hey, we're giving up or losing out on any potential display space. What opportunities do we have with the library to kind of expand to have a space to show artifacts?"
Okay,
And
that's good. So this is follow up to that concept.
yeah,
Good. How are you holding up? Are you traveling around now again, or are you still home working?
I'm going into Boston every day. Yeah, it's and as much as I go in, I probably see like 3 people a day. So
Wow.
Boston's still a ghost town. The trains are getting a little bit busier, but like it's still enough to have maybe like one person every other seat. So
Yeah, no, I saw an article in the Globe this morning that how it isn't coming back very strong.
yeah,
Being safe.
No, that's gonna filter down to town government sooner or later, and we're gonna be in tough shape.
Fortunately, we have reserves at this point that can help carry us through, but it's still going to be a challenge if this keeps going on for a year or two. I would not be surprised.
no, I think we're going to be dealing with this for a while.
Yeah. I think it's gonna make 2008 look like a walk in the park.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's part of what the housing document, they talk about how Bridgewater's, and maybe David, you could confirm this, but how we grew after 1990, and there was a big growth spurt, 1990 to 2000, 1985 to 2000, and then it slowed down. And they're trying to tie that growth to the university's growth in that time period. And I lived here, and it was not that. What I got, probably the last house, we looked at, I think, 4 or 5 houses here in Bridgewater. And I think we were told we got the last house that was for sale in Bridgewater in 1986. And that was because that housing boom that started in Boston went all the way down to the South Shore in Rhode Island, where I sold a house that I bought 7 years before that for $27,000 for $96,000. And that housing boom is what drove that development, and the farm's going away, in my opinion. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with the college. I think the college benefited from it, but it wasn't driving it.
Yeah,
I don't think at all. The college is driven by the economy.
yeah.
If they don't have the bodies to put in the classrooms, then there's nobody in the apartments.
Well, I'm going to comment on this and say that they, and they're younger people. They're probably under 35 or late 30s that are writing this up, and I think that they just didn't experience what you and I and others in the 1980s experienced in terms of housing. And the growth was because people were needing houses closer to Boston.
Yeah. Yeah.
the only way I ever got a house was the downturn in 2000, like the 2008 downturn, because I bought mine in 2009, right at the crash of the housing market. Other than that, I never thought I would have a chance, because when I graduated in 99, it was like the beginning of the .com bubble burst, and then it wasn't until the housing downturn that was like the only way I was able to get a house.
Yeah. And I remember driving and watching the buildup of the housing, and I saw people moving into houses. And then as that downturn came in play, all of a sudden those people were no longer in the houses. They were all foreclosed on, all that kind of stuff. And that slowed the development in town. You know, it didn't plateau, but it really slowed down the growth for literally 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I know that.
I recognize that.
Yeah, I know with our situation, like, I think it was almost set up like where it was a challenge to not get foreclosed on.
Yes.
Like, and like I remember, like I was able to get the $8,000 grant from Obama, because I think the year before it was a loan from Bush, but then it was a grant from Obama, and but you had to live in your house for 3 years, and when I hit that third year, I was like, okay, I think we're going to be okay. And
Yeah, my son had that same program, and he's got a really tiny house, single bathroom upstairs, two boys, rambunctious kids, and but that saved him so he could get a house back then. And it was coming off the end of that also.
yeah,
Yeah, if we had town reports, we'd be able to lay it out very clearly.
Yeah.
As to how things go. I saw in 20 years, I saw years with 15 building permits for houses and up to 150 building permits for houses.
When we updated the housing section in 2014, which the current management wouldn't even recognize, even though the document I sent them emails showing that the planning board had accepted that update. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. They did nothing. And in that document, that I do remember a statement that at one point, early on, it was 100 and plus per month or year, whatever it was, and then 20. It dropped to 20 for several years.
Yeah.
And that's all that housing give and take. It's economically driven, not university driven.
Right.
The university built all the dorms the university built all the dorms to relieve the town of that pressure of external housing.
Yeah. And that was one of the arguments that they would make, that they're not increasing enrollment. They just want to bring kids on campus. And then once we're up, then they'd increase enrollment. It's like an inchworm, moving across the board. They were playing games with that all the time, but the college did not drive housing in Bridgewater.
And that really influences where we're at now, as well as this document that's supposed to look forward 10 years and what we really need. I think they kind of get to the bottom lines, but I think the history needs to be properly documented. As somebody that likes to document things, I think they have to document it correctly.
Yeah.
But that's me. I'm going to jump off because I think I have the library meeting thing too, but I'll jump off for now because
Okay.
We've given lots of information back and forth, and I appreciate it.
thanks.
Yep. All right. Thanks for coming.
No problem. See you soon.
Yep.
And Dave, I remember last meeting, there was a house that someone was looking for information on. Do you
Yeah.
recall?
102 Walnut, was it?
What was it?
102 Walnut.
Okay.
Big Colonial on the left-hand side, about a quarter of a mile down the road.
Okay. I was actually looking up a house on Walnut today because I was looking through on newspapers.com at some old articles, and I found an article from it was like 1940s of the house that used to be right in the corner of Auburn and Walnut. And I found a photo of where it was like right on the corner of Auburn and Walnut on the
Yeah, I know the house. It was a big Colonial.
yeah, and they had a farm. They had a barn in the back, and the barn actually had the former
Columns from one of the college buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember my dad always used to tell me that those columns came off of that building, but the last owner was Bill Prouty, the dog catcher. I knew him pretty well, and the buildings were all in pretty tough shape when they finally came down.
Yeah.
But there is a picture of those columns.
Yep.
That back.
Yep. It was in a newspaper in 1946 or 1950, somewhere around there, and it shows it was Alton Smith. It's Robert Smith owned the house at the time.
Yeah.
And his son Alton. It showed him sitting in front of it, but it's a photo. It's in the new. It was in maybe the Fall River Times.
Oh, Alton Smith, otherwise known as Ginty Smith.
Yeah.
He moved out of it and he built the little house behind it on Walnut Street.
Okay.
And he had a hell of a garden there, but he also had a junkyard license there, and he hung on to that junkyard license for years, long after he ceased using it for cars. And it wasn't until when he passed away that they finally gave it back to the town.
Huh.
But I didn't realize that Ginty owned the farm, but kind of makes sense that That's where he had the junkyard, and that's where he built the new house.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
Yeah. I'll share that article with you.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Steve, something I've been giving a lot of thought to for a while. I don't want to be known as the person who hung on to the historical commission for posterity or whatever. I would have no problem with reorganization and nominating you as the new chair, because you've been doing a tremendous job, and
Thank you.
it's great to see somebody with your interest. I've got so many other things going and so many things that I would like to be doing. I'd like to be doing more writing, and I've got the Banner project going, and I'm just really not giving it the service that the commission really needs. And if you could enlist some other young people with a love of Bridgewater, that's tough to do, I know, but you came along, and maybe somebody would be motivated by your motivation.
Did you know that James Walsh put in his offer? He sent his letter to Michael about joining the commission.
No, I hadn't heard that. Why would I know?
I know.
Why would they tell me?
Yeah. No, he actually a few days ago he asked me like who should he contact to hear about it, but I told him about it has to go through the advisory committee and the town manager, but Gene wants to be on the commission.
Well, that'd be great. I hope he's got a real sincere interest, and he's motivated, because I did talk to him a little bit when I hung his I think it was his great uncle's banner up, his grandfather's brother, his banner up, and he said he was interested in joining. And I said, well, just send a letter into the council, and love to see you.
Yeah, well, I think that's in progress. So
Yeah.
I thank you for your trust in if we do reorganize. But no,
Yeah.
I think it's I think that we just keep pushing the history.
I just kind of fell into it when my dad decided to pass it on to me, and nobody else was interested. But at the time when he did it, we had a bunch of really old, knowledgeable people on the commission, and the commission had kind of devolved into just a sit around and talk about old stories. And then one by one, those people passed away, and we recorded a lot of them, but we had a paid secretary, Sally Stewart, who used to transcribe everything, and all of those meeting minutes were in the file cabinet that disappeared. So Mikey Boyce was, I think Mikey Boyce was the last one who was on the commission of that group, Bridgewater Historical Collectors.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think it'd be good if we can get it going again and get.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when I first got involved, I pushed for the Ironworks Historic District and got that put together and everything. And it was, everybody had a lot of great ideas, but there was, at that point in their lives, they had done their thing, and they just weren't all that motivated to do anything. So, other than to sit around and talk, and it was neat, but
yeah. Well, I think right now, like the way I see it is, it's like we're at a point right now where it's like we're getting the history out, and we know the history's there. And I think the historical commission now needs to start kind of like publicizing it. I mean, I'm glad that we're part of the memorial building study, the town hall study, and also just we're making sure that our voice is heard and when decisions are made.
well, you can keep the town hall in the forefront, and I'd like to continue being let's put it nicely, an advocate in Dutton's side to see that we get some use our preservation in that building.
Yeah.
So I'd like to stick with that, but I would have no problem with seeing the leadership of the commission go to somebody with as much motivation and determination as you have. So,
That would, I think that would be great.
yeah. Any more with the Native American issues?
Not yet. I still want to put together the, we still need to like properly record like what happened. I haven't had a chance to kind of like write down my experience of what I saw.
Yeah.
But I know that the chief will be sending me some more information on like the exact their like his view of what happened.
Yeah.
We can put it all together. That was one thing I wanted to. I was gonna call you when I first saw the agenda for this meeting. I think you wrote down Wampanoag, and it was actually the Massachusetts tribe.
Massachusetts. Yeah. Okay.
If we maybe for the next meeting when we do the agenda, we just make sure that we use Massachusetts.
Okay. I would really like to see a plaque or a memorial or something down at Camp Titicut that would direct people to a resource where they could learn more about the Native Americans in Bridgewater.
What I mean, this is just what one of the things that they were discussing is like because the land in like where Titicut was used for the like the white oak that was used to make all the machines and all the boats.
Yeah.
What if like a longhouse was on that land, like more of a, which it could be like a replica of what would have been there, or but also it could be like an educational resource where they could be where like showing like where they could speak to their history.
Yeah.
Like,
That'd be a great idea, but a longhouse would be nice, but it would be something they have to be 10-foot chain link, barbed wire, guard towers,
Yeah.
just to prevent vandalism and so forth.
right.
But if there was a structure up there dedicated to the Native Americans, and in that structure, it's a pretty big piece of property, and that would be fantastic to have something like that in Bridgewater.
Yeah. It rather than just saying this was the where this happened, you could go in and kind of see the history and
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah, because the boat building was only a small portion of the history of the site. I mean, the Native Americans had activity there for supposedly thousands of years.
right.
And what were we there? Maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the Native Americans they were the ones they were making boats before we made boats.
yeah, yeah,
And so like what we learned we learned like what the colonists and what the people who made the boats they learned from the people who were here.
yeah. I don't know if you've ever heard the story, but I was talking with Jimmy Wood one day, and when he was a kid, he was working with his dad on Atkinson Drive. And he said it was very common that they would dig up bones. So that Indian settlement must have been huge. And,
Right.
you know, go all the way from the river all the way back up to Atkinson Drive and that whole area must have been huge.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what Atkinson Drive is named after at all, or
No,
okay? I know that
I don't know how. I don't think Jimmy Wood's dad has a mental capacity at this point. He may, but Jimmy may know of somebody who would know how those streets were named.
yeah. And the only reason I ask is because like in the house I live in, one of the first renters of it was Wesley Atkinson and his family, and they used to own Atkinson,
Transport.
the service station right in the center of town.
Yeah.
And they also, the building that was just behind the fire station that burnt down. It was like, I think it was an apartment building or multi-family building.
Yes, right next to it.
Yeah. The Atkinsons owned that house.
Yeah.
And I know in some of our photos that you provided, there's like the photos from that fire and of like, I think one of a body inside the building and a few of like the people who got out.
Yeah, there's somewhere, I think it might be, I don't know if I included it in the disc that I gave you, but I think it might be on the disc. It says police photos, but there is a picture of 4 bodies under canvas or under a tarp.
Yeah.
They died smoke inhalation or whatever because it was a lodging house. But the Atkinson transport, I believe, started originally in the stable behind the hotel. And then they ended up over behind the Masonic Lodge, over in that area. It's just hard to imagine big tractor trailer trucks backing down that driveway.
Yeah. I have, when I was cleaning out my house, I found a holiday card from 1932 that said, Happy Holidays from Atkinson Service Station, in our second year of business. And it was, in the location of behind the Masonic Lodge.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned service station in 32. I think the hotel came down in 33 or 35.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that area. And that's when the gas station was built. I wonder if Atkinson had anything. Well, they were probably renting from the hotel.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know Bromley was in there for a long time, but I don't know who would have built that gas station. But Eddie Bromley's son still lives on Summer Street, but he's never been much interested in history because I offered him. I think I had a matchbook one time that came from Bromley service station, and I offered it to him, and he wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
So, but
well, last thing I'll say before I know we got to get off to go to the next meeting. I did have someone reach out to me about they have a few photo albums that could be of some interest to us. So I have to continue that conversation, but like I'll have more information for next meeting.
Yeah, I'd love to get them scanned.
Yeah.
And I've been sending everything over to the college after we get it scanned, but until we get, maybe we'll learn something different from the trustees, but tonight as far as preservation, but it's just the public library is just so it's not solid enough. I mean, I just don't have any faith. You know, the trustees change, the head of the library changes, things come and go, and
there's you can't trust that it's going to stay.
Right. So, okay, but that's great to hear that photos are surfacing.
Exactly. All right. So I'll see you on the next meeting.
All right. Talk to you later, Steve. Thanks for coming.